105,192 hours. That's how long I've been living with my 12-year blood condition. You see, in my Jewish religion, if you have a blood condition, you are considered unworthy and unclean, and you are forced to live on the outskirts of town. You are not permitted into society. You must remain an outcast, unable to participate in the life of your community. And because I am an outcast, I cannot participate in temple worship, and I can no longer join in the celebrations of my religious community. I am an outcast. I am alone. Physically, I am so drained and exhausted all the time from the constant blood loss that I experience. It's horrendous. And I have literally spent all my money on going to see doctors. Doctors who say, yes, we can heal you. And when I hand over my money, guess what? I'm no better. In fact, I'm worse. And let me tell you, if you knew of some of the barbaric treatments I've experienced, you would be shocked. I was desperate. I had no choice. And because I am a woman, I have no one to speak up for me, no one who will plead my case. I feel like I've been robbed out of my life savings. Do you think I want to live like this? No one wants to live like this. I am socially bankrupt. I am physically bankrupt. I am spiritually bankrupt. And I am financially bankrupt. I am destitute and I am desperate. The shame continues to cover me wherever I go. But there's this man they call Jesus. And you should hear the stories about him. Stories, rumours, I'm not sure. But do you know the guy called Legion? The one, who lives over at the Gerasenes? The one who lives among the tombs, the crazy guy. The one with the demons. Well, apparently, he has been healed and is now in his right mind. The story goes that the demons came out of Legion and into a herd of pigs that ran down the embankment and into the lake. Must have been quite a sight for sore eyes, I'd imagine. But this Jesus, he seems kind. He seems happy to care about the people that no one else wants to hang around with. Well, hello, that's me. No one wants to hang around with me. Wonder what it would be like for someone to care about you. It's been so long, I can't even imagine what that's like. But perhaps seeing Jesus might help me. If he cared about Legion that no one cares about, perhaps he would care for me. So I heard that Jesus was coming to our town. So as usual, I slunk into the city. There were crowds everywhere. Everyone was jostling to be around Jesus. And you know what our cobbled streets in the town are like? They're narrow and tiny. They're not used to all these people everywhere. So along with the crowds, I was moving around trying to get alongside Jesus. And as I was trying to position myself, along came Jairus. You know Jairus, one of the leaders? And Jairus comes racing round and falls literally at Jesus' feet in a desperate state, because I recognize desperation, because I feel it too. Jairus explained to Jesus that his daughter, 12 years old, was dying. Oh, such a tragedy. But I couldn't help but notice the significance of the 12 years. For 12 years, Jairus has had the joy of a relationship with his daughter. And for 12 years, I've been devoid of relationship and joy. But Jairus actually gave me courage, because Jesus acknowledged Jairus and agreed to go walk to his house to see his daughter. And again, I thought, although Jairus is an important man, his daughter isn't important. It gave me a glimmer of hope that Jesus could maybe care for me. So as Jesus walked along, I tried to come round in front of him. I didn't want anyone to see me. I was unclean. I felt ill. I was exhausted from the journey. And I tried to get alongside of him, but I was too frightened. And I was worried if someone would see me, they would yell out, "Unclean, get away," or "Don't contaminate Jesus." So I decided to go around the back and walk alongside. And then I thought, maybe if I could just reach out and touch the blue cord on the tassel of his prayer shawl, maybe, just maybe, that would suffice. That would be all I needed. So I came around and I reached out, making sure no one was looking at me, down low, and I grabbed and touched. And in that moment, my bleeding stopped. I was healed instantly. It was a miracle, there's no doubt about it. And for a moment, I was frozen and people were getting annoyed because I wouldn't move. And then I thought, this Jesus really has supernatural powers. I better get out of here. So I began to walk away. Again, stealing over to the shadows so no one would know that I had been there. But then Jesus stopped and he said to the crowds, "Someone touched me." Everyone started looking around. And I was kind of relieved when Peter stood up and said, "Look, Jesus, of course, lots of people are going to touch you. There's crowds around here. Someone just accidentally bumped you. Don't worry about it." And so I thought, great. There was no way I wanted to own up to that. So I began to walk away again. And Jesus said, "Somebody touched me. The power went out from me." The power went out from him. And in the shadows, I thought to myself, could this really be the Messiah? The one that was promised that would come and save the world? Could it really be him? Could this Jesus be him? In that moment, I realized it must be. And if this man really was the Messiah, then I wanted nothing less but to follow him. So I emerged from the crowd, tentatively. I was absolutely petrified. I was trembling. Never in my life had a crowd looked at me. And I thought I had no choice at this moment but to come forward. And in doing that, I fell at Jesus' feet. just like Jairus did. And what I experienced next was completely what I hadn't anticipated. I expected that I would be dishonoured. I would be humiliated. I would be bullied and rejected. But instead, I experienced the complete opposite. Jesus smiled at me and he looked at me kindly and he nodded as if he was inviting me to speak in front of this crowd. Me, a woman, the one with no voice, the one on the outskirts of town, the one that no one wants to hang around with. Me. So I positioned myself and I told the crowd my story. I shared with them what my life has been like, how I am a woman who has lived in the shadows for so long. I am a woman that no one wants to be near. I am a woman with no voice. I explained to them what life had been like for me. And you should have seen some of the faces on the men when I told them all about the barbaric treatment I'd received from the physicians. Physicians? I don't think so. And I told them that perhaps if I could just have touched Jesus, maybe I would be healed. And the crowd was silent. They were waiting for Jesus to do something, to perhaps say, unclean woman, disappear. But no. Jesus said, woman, daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace. Daughter. He called me daughter. I have been embraced into the family of God and accepted for who I am. I am a daughter. And what I know now is that Jesus was wanting to publicly lift my shame away so that I would no longer be someone in the shadows, someone cast aside on the outskirts of town. I would be able to hold my head up and participate in the life of my community. From someone who was socially, spiritually, physically, and financially bankrupt, Jesus was restoring me to my community. But he not only restored me socially and physically, hallelujah, he restored me spiritually. Oh yes, I'm a believer. I used to doubt when I lived in isolation that the God of my ancestors even existed anymore. I'd forgotten what that was like. And now I am part of the community. I am one with my community. How good is Jesus? Yes, I am a follower of his. Today I declare it. And now for me, there is no more shame.